Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we're going to be taking a look at a new promo Celebi card. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is actually going to be a Coro promo. There was a scan that leaked out a little while ago, but it was a little bit blurry, and it was like a proper leak. And it's the kind of thing that Coro really don't appreciate, and we couldn't see the whole image, so no, I didn't think it was worth having a look at. But now we've got a nice clear image, and it's supposed to be out there. So let's have a gander, shall we? Now, our translation here today is a combination of the lovely Primal Lugia and the lovely Joe from Celebi.net. You should be checking out that website regularly. And if we start off having a look at the basics, we've got 70 HP, which, I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of annoying because you can't use Professor Elm's lecture to search it out. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff traditionally that does 30. I mean, Espeon GX not too long ago. So I suppose you can take a hit from them, but generally speaking, most of the time, honestly, we'd rather just have 60 and have the easy search. Retreat cost of 1 is lovely because you've got stuff like Escape Board, which is going to give you a free retreat. Although that is traditionally used for Jirachi, we've all got our things. And one of mine is, I always get Jirachi and Celebi mixed up, even though they're really not that similar. I don't know why. It's just one of my things. It is weak to Psychic. Now, on the one hand, Mewtwo and Mew is going to be the best deck in the format, or at least one of them. So people are going to be playing Psychic to try and counter that. And if they're playing Psychic to counter that, they're going to be inevitably playing Psychic to counter you. And on the other hand, you've got 70 HP. And you are a Psychic type, so you could always use something like Spell Tag, for instance, to do a bit of extra damage when you're KO'd, or even try and hit a bit of weakness on Mewtwo and Mew. Cool. Now, the first attack here is probably the best of the two, and for just a single colourless energy, I know you can't quite see it there, but it is a single colourless energy. You search your deck for 3 GX Pokemon with different names, and put them into your hand. Cool. It's a good way to search out your GXs and get rolling. Now, this might remind some of you, and it should because it's what it does for me, of Alolan Vulpix. Now look, Alolan Vulpix attacks for free, and that makes a huge difference. The reason it makes such a huge difference is if you're attacking for free, you can actually use your attachment for the turn to retreat whatever you started with. Whereas with Celebi, you've got to get it into the active without using your attachment for the turn, because your attachment for the turn has got to be used to pay the attack cost here. So it's not perfect. But Alolan Vulpix for 0 energy searched your deck for 2 Pokemon and put them into your hand. But we're losing Alolan Vulpix to the rotation. Once the rotation hits, Alolan Vulpix is going to be gone. We're going to need something else. This could work. Now, the other thing that Alolan Vulpix had, which was so gosh darn good, was Brooklet Hill. Brooklet Hill just let you search out a water or fighting Pokemon, and that was huge. You can't use that here because you're not a water or fighting Pokemon. Although I suppose you could say you can't use that here because it's rotated out by the time this comes out. So, look, I'm not saying this is Alolan Vulpix. I'm saying it's a potential replacement. I am saying that it could fill the same kind of niche. I am saying that it lets you search for Pokemon in a similar way. But I am not saying it is just an out-and-out replacement, it's as good, etc. The fact that you can't use Brooklet Hill, the fact that you can't use Professor Owl's lecture, the fact that it doesn't have a free attack, does make Alolan Vulpix way better. But don't be sleeping on this, because you can search for stuff like Dedenne, that lets you discard your entire hand and draw a new hand of 6 cards. That's pretty gosh darn good consistency. Even though it doesn't evolve into it, another sad thing, you can search for Alolan Ninetales to evolve a different Alolan Vulpix on your bench. That was also one of the amazing things about Alolan Vulpix, was it evolved into Alolan Ninetales, and you could use Vulpix to search Ninetales and just roll. And when you evolved into Alolan Ninetales, you searched your deck for any 2 item cards and put them into your hand. But the fact of the matter is, if you're playing a GX heavy deck, this can work. You go and search for a Dedenne as a little bit of consistency. You go and search yourself an Alolan Ninetales, for instance. You go and search yourself, I don't know, a couple of Dragonite. I really love the new Dragonite. Seriously, 270 damage for 5 energy with the ability to use triple acceleration energy. I cannot be the only one that thinks that looks really good. And it's the kind of deck where you're not really going to have a huge turn 1 option most of the time. So using a Celebi here to go and search out something like a Dedenne or an Alolan Vulpix, and then go and grab 2 Dragonite would be awesome. I mean, Alolan Ninetales can go and get 2 rare candy, and then you've got the double turn 2 Dragonite, which is just going to set you up for the game here. There are plenty of decks where this isn't going to work at all. There are plenty of decks that just don't play GX Pokemon, and if you don't play GX Pokemon, obviously this is not going to be a good idea. This is not going to be a good Pokemon. Similarly, there are several decks that have other turn 1 options. If you're a deck that really wants to use Volcanion, for instance, a new one from Unbroken Bonds, if you're going second, then on your first turn, you get to search for free fire energy and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. And that's usually a better turn 1 option than using Celebi here. But in decks that are using GX Pokemon that don't have a specified turn 1 option, this could be fun. Now there is a second attack here, but it's not terribly exciting. Psychic, 2 colourless energy, and you do 40 damage, flip a coin. If heads, the defending Pokemon is now paralysed. Now, on the one hand, 40 plus paralysis on a coin flip is fairly high. Most of the time, we're seeing 10 or 20 plus paralysis on a coin flip. So that's kind of cool. It is more than you would usually expect. On the other hand, it's kind of expensive, and we're losing Victini. That I weirdly don't get confused with the other two, even though it's a small, cute legendary. Go figure. Victini from Guardians Rising, if you're attacking and it involves coin flips, you can reflip those coins once. Now, it's all or nothing. Either you reflip them all or you reflip none of them. But as you're only flipping one here, it's just reflip or not. There's none of this awkwardness that other attacks might have. And that would give you a 75% chance of paralysis. But we don't have that. So we're back to a 50% chance. And look, there was a format a little while ago where a whole bunch of people were playing Electric. And the Dynamo that most people would use back then was the Dynamo that had free retreat. But instead, what people started doing was using the Dynamo that can paralyze on a coin flip. And they would use the old Victini that had the same ability as the newer one. Although it's not that new because it's rotating out. And the thing is that the other one had 30 HP. But it had free retreat. So generally that was better. This one had 40 HP, and to be fair, when Landorus came around, it was a bonus to not have 30 HP, because Landorus could KO it super easily on the bench if it did. But you just used Thunder Wave. And because people were playing Electric anyway, playing that Dynamo wasn't a big deal. And they would literally just sit there trying to paralyze turn after turn on a coin flip, buy a bunch of turns to set up and try and win the game. Now that was a basic you wanted to evolve for a single energy. This is a basic which is only being used as a setup Pokemon. So really you'd be using the setup Pokemon during the same turns as you'd want to use the attack to paralyze. That's a bit awkward. And it is for free energy, which again is a bit awkward. No arguments here. But maybe you're playing a Malamar deck. Maybe you're playing a deck where you can accelerate that psychic energy onto it fairly easily, and then the attack cost is really not that bad. And if the attack cost isn't that bad, if it's easily payable, it's a nice emergency. My opponent's Mewtwo and Mew is running rampant. Hang on a second, let's do 80 damage and paralyze on a coin flip. And maybe that saves that one turn that you desperately need. With Ace Roller rotating out and Guzma rotating out, most decks are playing far fewer options for getting out of the active in an emergency. That means that stuff like paralysis becomes way better. So maybe you can use this to buy yourself a turn or two. It's not a reason to play the card. It's not a card around which to build a deck. but it can give you a turn or two in an emergency. The reason to play it is the first attack. It's good for consistency, and in a post-Alolan Vulpix world, it's not a perfect replacement, but in some decks it might do the trick. Second attack, handy bonus. Might win you the game here and there. So let's give it 3 Wossies. It's exactly the kind of card we need a couple copies in your binder, because you might want to tack it into a deck. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the definition of a free Wossie card. But I'd like to know what you think about this, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassiePlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.